You have the ability to just make shit work. Dude, high school freaking sucks, man. Make a business more profitable. How can we make them operate faster? I was never going to university. 50% of high schoolers think that they're going to be a millionaire by 25. Entrepreneurs are the ones who fail businesses. I guarantee you that I can show you someone who is successful without that component, without the discipline, without the business plan. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. That small thing is going to turn into a massive thing. Action is the baseline to success. It's almost older than me.
All right, let's go. Let's begin, bro. So welcome, Campbell. We want to know who you are, bro. Just give a full introduction about who you are. Let's see who Campbell is. He's the real G. I know that for a fact. So let's give a full intro, bro.
My name's Campbell Guthrie. I am the co-founder of Gold Coast, or Australia's largest community for future leaders in their 20s. We host completely free events called the Future Leaders Summit, where you can come and connect with like-minded entrepreneurs, like-minded future leaders, like-minded founders, connect together and ultimately learn from ultra-successful business leaders who have already achieved the success that you're after. And we host those completely free simply because we want to connect with people like yourself, as well as learn from the best entrepreneurs and the best business owners as we possibly can. So that's what I've been able to create. And we're now finally, based on everything that we've learned from Forge and over the 1,000 people that we've interacted in the last 12 months alone, we're finally bringing you something called the DynamX Institute, which is how both myself and my co-founder have achieved the level of success that we have, and is the exact step-by-step path that you can follow to ultimately create the skills and then the resources which allow you to have leverage is what you can turn into become a business owner. So
that's I love that. So, bro, that's the thing. But there was a start, right? Let's go all the way back to that first stage where it all began in the backyard. I've heard this. I've been through it. So tell us about that first event in your backyard, bro. Let's get all the way back there.
Come on, bro. If we're going to go all the way back, we can't start it there. That was like once everything was built, man.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When we had that first event, bro. So let's go back even further. So after high school, myself and Isaac, my co-founder, we graduated high school together. And it was during the time of COVID-19. So we were dealing with all that. Basically spent, 6 months or whatever at our home instead of going to grade 12. We managed to get through that. And I think at that time, the isolation really hit not just us, but the entire world. And so Isaac and I, not really extroverts, but even us were craving that in-person connection. So what we decided to do is like, okay, we know that we're going to be successful. We know that we want to go down and start creating like our skills and leverage so that we can then become the business owner, because we also understood that trying to be an entrepreneur straight out of high school that is trying to do it the hard way. You don't know anything. You don't have any resources. You don't have any leverage to actually make your business opportunity work. So, okay, what can we do? Well, let's go down our pathway, our career option. But then how can we find like-minded people who think like us? How can we find people who also understand the difference between an entrepreneur and a business owner, who know how to create leverage? And it was like, okay, we need to find those people who are like us so we can surround ourselves with 5 best people, right? But we also knew that we wanted to learn from people who have already done it, because surrounding yourself with 5 people who haven't done it isn't really going to allow you to create the level of success that you're after. Again, this all comes down to leverage, right? You need to learn from people who have already done it so that you can fast track your success. And that's when we ultimately were like, okay, well, let's just where can we find this? What sort of options are out there? And we're like, oh, genius, bro. We're going to create a group and we're going to create a book club. And that was our ingenious idea of finding like-minded people, was to create this book club of people who wanted to learn about business, learn about entrepreneurship, but then also learn from people who have poured their entire life's work into a single book, into 400 pages. So, okay, how can we find that? And we ended up reading Think and Grow Rich. And Think and Grow Rich is my favorite book. I love it. I recommend it to anyone. It was how we created our start. And one of the chapters in that book is about creating your own mastermind group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, you're some of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So it taught us to, okay, how can we create that mastermind group? And we ended up calling the book club the mastermind group. It ended up growing. We got like 7 people there. And obviously there wasn't enough buy-in for people to like really get behind the book club. There wasn't enough, I don't know what you want to call it, right? There wasn't enough value being provided from this book club for people to get involved. It basically failed. People drifted off. They said they were too busy. They said, I can't be fucked, right? Like, fair enough. Yeah. Who wants to read books these days? You know what I mean? Yeah. So we were like, okay, look, this obviously isn't working. What can we do? And that's when we embarked on a journey to provide so much value that no one can dispute it. And ultimately that led us down the pathway to running our first event at the back of my parents' house.
Okay, bro. That's next level, bro. But here's the thing, who woke you up? Like, to get you there reading that book, like, who woke you up, bro? I asked this question in all the episodes that we've done so far as well. Because I had a mentor, but did someone like legit like tell you like something that clicked in you that changed everything?
So my dad was a massive part of both myself and Isaac's story as well. And he played that pivotal role in giving both of us what we call the dynamic skill set. And the dynamic skill set means your skills or your ability to, you know, critical think, problem solve, communicate, lead, all the soft, like the quote unquote soft skills or the important skills that you actually need to build the, not only the life, but also the business that you want from it as well. Right. So like he laid the foundation, he set everything up for me. Like, obviously I wasn't handed anything from him because you wouldn't be able to get into a position where you can actually capitalize on what he has provided if he just gave it to you. You see it all the time with trust funds, right? They're always broke by the time they inherit all the money. So it's like the greatest thing that he's given me is that dynamic skill set, the ability to think for myself, to critically think, to problem solve in ways that not many other people can. And then ultimately that was the starting point. That was the fire that burned, which ultimately has taken me down my pathway and given me the success that I have.
I love it.
So good. Campbell, what did you study? Because you said you went to high school with Isaac. Really inspiring story. What did you study? What's the background? If someone's looking at this, he might think, all right, Campbell might go to the business school. That's why he runs business. Have you learned business or from a different area?
So Isaac and I have 2 very different stories, but we followed the same path. So for me, I was in high school and I'm like, dude, high school freaking sucks, man. Like, this information we're learning. Like, I'm not like, give me I want to understand real business. I want to solve real problems. I want to make a real difference in the world. And high school, studying fucking Macbeth or whatever we studied in English, or doing math equations, like it's not going to help me in the life that I want to live. Right. So I went down and I'm like, hey, what are my options? And I could tell you right now that I was never going to university. That university pathway just wasn't for me. I just, like, the high school only gives you 2 pathways when you're in high school, right? You got university and you got TAFE. Those are the only 2 options that the high school gives you. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to university, so I guess I'm going to be a builder. Like, that's what I thought.
Those are like the 2 options, bro. Those are like the only options. It's like, okay, no, these are the paths. That's only available to their world. And they're in a cage, bro. Yep. They're in a cage.
Yep. So I'm like, well, shit, man. Like, I have to play. Like the authorities, the people who I'm supposed to trust, who are supposed to have my back, look out for me the most. The high school teachers, the people there who are going to basically help me make a decision at 16 years old on what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, there's the only people that I can trust. So, like, what are my other options? Well, I have to listen to them. I have to go down a TAFE route. I got to be a builder. I'm like, well, shit, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, I can do that. I don't mind doing that. But I'm like, fuck, like, shit, come on. So that was my option. I'm there with Dad, and we're like sitting down. I'm like, Dad, I'm not going to university. Like, you went to university, but it's not for me. I'm just not going to do it. And then I'm like, I'm going to be a builder. And he was like, holy shit, I got to help this guy out. He's going to be building the rest of his life. So, like, it's like a waste of potential for you. So basically what happened is we sort of sat down and we sort of discussed what the options were. And anyway, he convinced me to go into the office with him. So he's a serial entrepreneur. He actually did it the extremely hard way. So his story went, just quickly, dad's story. He graduated university, Bachelor of Business Accounting, which is the diploma back there. So yeah, he graduated university and basically went down the business route or the entrepreneurial route his entire life. Constantly was working for Brad Sugars at one time when Brad Sugars was just starting up, some like really big guy in the industry. He was working for him. He ended up running his own business after that, doing like inside of the software or the CRM space, which is basically your customer relationship management. So what big businesses use to manage their customers and actually make a profit and automate and make shit like actually work. It's the internal engine of a business, which you won't understand unless you build a big business, unless you see it, right? So he was doing that. He had multiple businesses, and he just never worked for anyone else. He always worked for himself. And it was only until the very end when he ended up selling his business. He thought like the world was going to basically explode, but he ended up landing on his feet, and he worked for Ripe, which is now Crayon, which is one of the fourth largest Microsoft distributor in the world or something like that. So anyway, the point is that he basically did it the hard way, and he got to the stage where he sold his business and then went in and learned how to actually run the fourth largest business in the world, right? And he got into a leadership position there, and he basically took me into his office one day, and I'm like, I don't really know. I don't like, what do you actually do, Dad? I don't know if I want to go down this. Like, you just doing, IT shit. Like, I don't want to fucking do that shit. You know what I mean? I'm not there like plugging in and plugging out computers and shit. Yeah. Damn, bro. So he convinced me to come in, and I came in. I wore like a business shirt. I felt really business-like that day. We were sitting in the offices, and fortunately for him, it just lined up perfectly, because at that stage he was in, like, I would argue, one of the nicest office spaces in Brisbane. It's overlooking the river. It was super high up. It was just beautiful. There was like a little pianoist in the lobby, right? We went down for some coffee. Little pianoist going, like nice music. There was a like little petite coffee shop that people would get in there like cappuccinos from. It was all aircon, and like, believe it or not, it was a 38-degree day or some shit. So it was freaking hot outside, but we were inside in the aircon. So we were sweet. We were basically just sitting there, and he sat me down and was like, look, son, you can either work as a trade and go in that business, and you're probably going to do quite well for yourself because you have like the dynamic skill set, right? You have the ability to just make shit work. So you could go down that route, work in the sun, work in 38-degree heat, or you could like solve real business problems, work in the aircon, enjoy it, and become like that businessman, like understand how businesses work. And I'm like, oh shit, man, like, tell me a little bit more. What do you actually do, Dad? And that's what like, shit, what else are you gonna do? So I'm like, oh, okay, well, tell me more. Like, how do I actually get into this? And I start to understand that, holy shit, like, we're actually making businesses like run. Like, this is automating businesses. This isn't like, boring fucking IT solving meaningless problems. It's solving real world business problems. How can we make a business more profitable? How can we make them operate faster? How can we like do more turnover? Like, this is the whole thing we got to solve. We got to go in there and see how businesses were working, see the constraint of the business, and then solve that instantly. That's what he did. That's what now I do. And we've been able to follow that pathway and basically break it down step by step for other people who have also now following that path as well, which is freaking exciting, man.
Exciting, bro. You're on your purpose, bro. You know your fucking purpose, what you're supposed to be doing. That's the best thing in the world. I really wish I woke up that early, bro. You're fucking killing it. That's the thing.
Mate, you said you work with your dad and you realize there are so many errors the businesses do. So what are the biggest error most businesses do when they start up?
So this is the thing, is that we don't work with startups. So I can answer that because I've seen so many businesses come through Forge. But in terms of what I do in my career and now my business, we actually work with enterprise businesses. So we leverage Microsoft. Microsoft has their own systems, and we basically go and deploy those systems into other businesses, other enterprise businesses who need them. So I basically summarize it by saying that if you're a business with 100 plus employees, then we'll come in and we'll basically find what area is the constraint. and we'll work together to basically solve that and fix that solution using the Microsoft ecosystem, using the Microsoft systems. Okay, so we definitely don't work with startups. It's definitely enterprise businesses. Right now, we're working with the Queensland government and just building out their entire system. So the big thing there is right now, the biggest issue with the current project that we're working with is they're all on the legacy system. So their system was basically created in like 2003 or some shit. It's almost older than me. Looking at this shit, bro, I'm like looking at it. It looks like it was built in 2003.
Usually government systems are pretty old, right?
Dude,
old school.
It's like next level though. And the functionality that they've built out on this, obviously there's 20 years of just continually enhancing, continually adding shit onto this program, which we now get to like dig in, find out all the problems with that, and then bringing it onto the new ecosystem, which is a problem in itself, but also really rewarding, right? Because we get to solve that problem every day. So that's what we do. In terms of what you can do as a small startup business, I think if we're talking about entrepreneurs and not necessarily businesses, because entrepreneurs are the ones who fail businesses, right? If you're not an entrepreneur who's capable enough, then the business isn't going to grow because it's all dependent on you. Right. So in terms of what entrepreneurs can do to fast track their success, they need to build their skills and they need to build their resources. And what I constantly find with Forge and speaking with over 1,000 future leaders in the last 12 months is you're constantly trying to create a business, like being an entrepreneur, without understanding what a business actually looks like. Without understanding what it actually takes, without having any skills that are valuable enough to charge for. You're trying to do it the hard way. You're trying to hustle harder to make something work, but ultimately you don't have the leverage to make it work. Right? This is the biggest thing that we keep hitting our heads against is because people are like, dude, I'm different, bro. I'm going to make this business work. Like I'm that guy. I'm not a hustler until I make it happen. It's like, well, shit, I hear this stat all the time now. I love saying it. It's 50% of high schoolers think they're going to be a millionaire by 25. This is the reality. This is delusion that we're living in. Okay. Being a millionaire at 25 is what, like 0.01% of people. Right? 50% think that they're capable enough to do it. Like time out for a moment, right? Let's go back to reality. What can you actually do to make sure that you can have the best possible chance in order to actually achieve that? And what you need to do is you need to create leverage, right? So the way we go about that is rather than trying to create a business or trying to hustle harder and just start something up and use GPT to create some generic business idea that probably thousands of others are also trying to do because GPT is so limited in terms of like its ideas, you're not prompting it with the correct ideas. What you should actually do is you should get specialized knowledge in a particular area. Maybe not should probably the wrong word, but at least what I did is I got specialized knowledge in a particular area. And now I'm able to leverage everything that I've learned in that particular realm to then create a business where I'm actually capable in. Okay. So rather than trying to get general knowledge, like, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm going to create an SMMA agency. I'm just going to figure it out. Well, why don't you actually go work for someone who does content for a living? Why don't you go work for someone, as an example, Toa Global, which is a 9-figure firm here on the Gold Coast, does like 130 mil rev. They used to have like an entire content department, right? Editors, cameramen, like you name it. They had a whole podcast studio, like they did everything, right? Why don't you go work for someone like that? Get the specialized knowledge that you need on understanding how to actually operate a marketing agency. And then you can then ultimately run that. And then you have the specialized knowledge to create your own business afterwards, right? People are trying to do it too fast without actually the leverage. And this is the biggest lesson that we've got.
You and Isaac, like different minds, right? When I met this guy at the event, bro, he's like taking notes and he's like very tactical around this. But Isaac is like, he's going up to people and speaking with people and he's just connecting. I just reading a book, just looked up. Isaac was just standing and I was like, hey, bro, how are you? Then we just had a chat. But this guy, he's like writing shit down, like what's happening there. He's very tactical. How does your brain and Isaac's brain work, bro?
So the difference between like my brain and Isaac's brain is we're actually extremely similar, but we're also very different. Like, it's really weird. You have to spend a lot of time with us to really find out like how our dynamic works, but we basically play off each other's strengths and weaknesses extremely well. So I'm typically more of like the operator kind of person, the person who was like behind the scenes doing like most of the work, making shit happen. And then Isaac's typically the CEO, the front person, trying to think of like what does the future state look like, and managing the relationships between people. And we can play that very well. Now, I can play the opposite side, just like Isaac can play the other side as well, my side. We're both very good, but it's also like the 80-20 rule, right? So what actually is the most important use of our time? And what we've come up with is using this dynamic of me spending most of my time on the operations, on making the business actually run, and then Isaac spending most of his time on the relationship side of things and the future state, is why we work so well together, because we can both bounce off each other when needed. We can both play devil's advocate when required, but ultimately we always come together and we always make the same decision because we're always on the same wavelength and we have the same understanding of business, which I think is the biggest thing, because Isaac also does the same thing that I do, that Dad does. So we're extremely similar, but ultimately, again, I just love learning, bro. Like, I'm there. So the story Dilshan was mentioning before was during the Dreamfest. I forgot the name of it. During Dreamfest, we went there. We bought like platinum VIT or whatever it was, just like Dilshan, and we were sitting there, and I mean, we obviously run our own events, right? So I'm there, I'm taking as many notes as I possibly can, because Dreamfest is 800-person event. Anyone ahead of you that you have something to learn from. So I'm like, well, shit, let me just like come to this event. How can I study as much as possible? What exactly is Morgan doing that we're not doing, that others aren't doing, that allow him to get to the level of event that Dreamfest obviously is? And I think the minuscule things that most people miss, and even Isaac misses, I can pick up on, right? And there's certain things like Isaac will pick up on, like a different font or a space in the word, that like a double space somewhere, like he's brilliant at that kind of minuscule detail. I'm brilliant at the minuscule detail in terms of like the event flow, and understanding how the processes and systems work. I have an insane understanding of how everything works and how it's all supposed to work, because I can think ahead. I can think in the future. Okay, well, if we do this, what processes does that affect, right? And I can understand that. So from my side, for me, I was just sitting there. I think I left with like 10, 15 pages of just notes, just like straight notes of like, okay, they had people greeting us at the door. They had a whole parking setup. They had a parking team. They had people outside, greeting people to come in. They had obviously the VIP station. They had the general station where people would come. They get their wristbands. They have their branding everywhere. What are the QR codes doing? I took photos of all of the branding across the entire building, as well as all the sponsors branding, so that I can understand, okay, what branding is actually good? What should I be doing for Forge? What should I be doing in the future to make my business work? And these are all the small little things that most people don't think of. They'll just walk by and say, oh, that looks cool. That's a nice color, right? But if you don't analyze it, you don't understand it, then you're not going to be applied to your own business. And you can either do that the hard way and try and like find out what color is going to work for you and find out what way to structure your banner for the best conversions, or you can just find someone who's already got really good converting banners and then just like mirror that, right? Imitate that banner for your own business. And this is the difference between leverage and ultimately just trying to hustle harder.
You are in some way, I reckon, Campbell, lucky to have that kind of a partner, one thing. And if someone's looking for a partner, how the dynamic should work, is there anything you want to add? So that has to be the same dynamic or something different always?
So the biggest thing is like when finding a partner is trust and making sure that you form the relationship correctly. And I'll give you an example, because this is a really, really tricky situation that we're navigating at the moment. Is we're obviously building out the DynamX Institute and the DynamX brand. And what that looks like is Claire, my partner, my girlfriend, and my sister Mia, they're now starting a podcast together called Driven Dynamics. And that's all about relationships and the relationships that you have with driven business owners. Okay. Yeah. So how should you be positioning yourself as a female, or at least what are the relationships like when you're surrounded with, or when you're connected to a high performing business owner? And they dive deep into all of that, the relationship advice, and what they're going through and how you can navigate that situation to, one, sort of attract a high performing business owner, but two, also like navigate that relationship, because it's extremely different than just a regular Joe Blow off the street, right? That dynamic between the two partners is extreme. So managing that relationship is what they talk about on that podcast. And in terms of when finding a business partner, I think finding a business partner is one thing, but you need to look for the reasons why it won't work, not for the reasons why they will work. And the reason why I say that is because there's always infinite reasons to come up with something why it will work. There's very few reasons why it shouldn't work. And if it shouldn't work, then that is what's going to be surfaced later down in your relationship. Okay,
Yeah.
so everything sort of like compounds over time. And if there's like a small like niggle at the start, I'm like, oh, I don't know, I don't really like this about him, but I'm not going to say anything because I like him. I want him to know. I want it to work, right? And that small thing is going to turn into a massive thing. And the way that you can navigate that, what we've ultimately learned the hard way from Isaac and myself, and now we're given the experience onto to Mia and Claire, my partner, and my sister, who are starting their own podcast, is okay, you guys are in a really, really tricky relationship because there's so many relationships, like different kinds of relationships that are involved. How do we navigate that? And what do we need to do to form or to create a relationship where we're super honest and open with each other, that there is no niggle, that we can like work together as a team and get the best outcome, right? Make this an actual long-term goal. So what we did is we basically sat down together and they went through really, really hard questions. I was going to actually ask Dilshan this. If you guys, how, like, Dilshan and Prav, how much you guys have actually worked on your relationship, how long have you known each other, how much trust have you done, how many conversations have you had, not just about the business, but also about your personal selves as well, and having the really hard freaking questions, right? So I'm talking like, okay, what happens if, you get one of your girlfriend's pregnant? Or what happens if the business dies out? What happens if you need to separate? What happens if you need to move country? Like, what happens if the business doesn't work out, or, one of us does something that the other person doesn't agree with and needs to be removed from the business, right? They harm the business. What the fuck happens in that situation?
Yeah.
And for you guys, it's like, okay, you need to sit down and actually have those conversations, because most of the time when you do that in a really safe environment, you're able to get all of your cards on the table and be really vulnerable, and you can both see where you're at, and then you can decide on how you want to maneuver and move forward. And Isaac and I have done this really well, and we've started to do it more and more. Like, can I have a serious conversation with you right now? We'll do that like alone and in private, right? But like, hey, look, can I have a serious conversation? It's like, look, when you do this, like, why are you doing this? It makes me feel like you're trying to put me down and trying to make myself like lower. Like why do you do that? He's like, well, shit, I didn't realize that I'm actually doing that. I don't know why I'm doing that. I thought it was like kind of funny. Like, look, I'll stop that. And it's like those little things, right? The things that don't really matter, but will affect your relationship moving forward. And now it's just like, look, like when anything comes up, we're just good. Right? And it's because we've continually built and we've continually understand how that process works, as well as we've done the forming prior on like, okay, what happens if the business doesn't work? What happens if one of us, like, what is something that one of us could do that would mean that we would need to separate our relationship or terminate the business? Like, what does that actually look like? How would we actually split the business, right? We need to be able to have those conversations and actually like work together on that, because when we can do that, then it's about setting barriers, because if you don't set any barriers, then the barriers could be all the way out here for all you know. People always love to the edge. They love to test the line. They love to test the barrier. So what does that look like? Because when it's there, most times people won't even get near it. Right? It just simply needs to know that it's there, because otherwise, if it's not there, then people will just like test it. They just go over here, and they won't actually know where it is. But if it's put in place, then it's more of a precautionary measure than actually needing to implement it. That's when what you can do once you find the partner and how you actually need to properly form the relationship beforehand. And I think the way you can find partners is just find people who are most aligned with you. Come to a Forge event, and
of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a marriage end of the day, isn't it?
Exactly right. Yeah, you're exactly
and
right. And
pieces is your baby.
Yep. But it's also like, I would argue relationships more important, but there's also more to manage inside of a business. There's more moving parts. It's way bigger. It's a lot. It can affect a lot more of your life than necessarily a relationship. So they go hand in hand. But yeah, business is one that you definitely want to form correctly.
Bro, so like right now, bro, like that people are struggling with the implementation, right? And you mentioned action is like the main ingredient, like you can't remove from success. What did you mean by that, bro?
Yeah, so action is the baseline to success. So what that means is that any amount of success that you have in your life, anyone has ever achieved, there's always been a baseline of success. They've always had to act. Okay, there's always action. Like action is the baseline. So no matter what you do, no matter if you get lucky and you buy a lotto ticket and you win $1 million, right? You took action to buy that lottery ticket. Whether you did it the hard way, you created your own business, you went down entrepreneurship, you hustled, and let's say that you were the 0.01% who eventually made it when they're 35 and you created $1 million business, then you've done it, right? You've done it because of action. Right? Whether or not, your parents were super rich and they gave you the money, you still had to act, right? You still they had to act to get that level of success, and you had to act to get in a position where you could receive it, right? Action is the baseline. You cannot succeed without action, and everything else is just put on top of action. If you take action out of any single, anyone's success story, you cannot succeed. Right? If all I do is lay on the couch, play video games, and eat Uber Eats, then I'm never going to be successful because I never act. Even if you live that life and then buy a lotto ticket, you're not going to fucking win, right? But you're acting more than someone who doesn't. You have a higher chance of succeeding. It is the baseline. So and I think most people try and overcomplicate it. They're always trying to look for the secret. We all know this nowadays, but it's what can you actually do? Well, the thing that you can actually do is you can act, and you can start acting. You can start putting it in place. The fast track for us is what we followed is to create leverage, right? But regardless of what you do, you just need to act. So that's what I would say. How you can act, and it's sort of up to you, but it is the baseline. You can take what are other metrics that people say that you need to be successful? You need a network, you need money to invest, or you need discipline, or you need whatever, right? You need a plan, right? You need a solid business plan. You can take every single one of those other options out. Guarantee you that I can show you someone who is successful without that component, without the discipline, without the business plan. Right? There's someone who's done it, but no one has done it without action. Why? Because action is the baseline to success. Action is the key to success. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. When you move smoothly, that's when you get the most things done. When you act fast, when you rush, right, nothing gets done. Everything, you might feel like you're constantly working, like you're constantly busy, but you're not focusing on the right things to actually move the needle forward. Okay, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, and that's the principle that Isaac and I have started to apply, which has allowed us to ultimately slow down, but also speed up. I used to get so much done. I used to legitimately work 100-hour weeks, and people don't understand what that actually takes. But Claire talks about it on a podcast episode where I would legitimately wake up at 7 a.m. and I would not go to sleep, not leave my office until 9 p.m. Okay, every single day, that for the weekdays as well as the weekends, and I would just work on the business. And I had my life so optimized because God bless Claire, we've been able to get her in a position where she can support me. She can basically do most of the house chores. She can cook for me. So I basically have optimized my life where the only time I leave my office was to go eat for 30 minutes and then come back. I wouldn't cook. Everything would be, I wouldn't have to get my glass of water right. I was able to fully optimize my life for work, and that was fast, right? I was moving with pace. I was doing so many shit. I was building the websites. I was creating a testimonial. I was actioning, right? I was creating the systems. But ultimately, what that led to was I was focusing on the 80% of tasks which don't actually matter. Okay. So when we actually took the layers back, I'm okay, Campbell, go write all of what your daily task or what your weekly task was on that whiteboard. What are you doing that makes you so busy? And I sat there and I looked at myself and I'm like, holy shit, I'm working, but not actually working. Okay, I'm spending time on the business. I'm making websites. I'm creating systems. I'm doing all these things, creating processes, creating documentation, but it's not actually moving the business forward. Okay, it's the 80% of tasks that don't actually matter. It's the 80-20 rule. 20% of the tasks make 80% of the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, I was focusing on the 80% of tasks which were making 20% of the difference. Making the website more optimized and make it look like that slightly a little bit better. Make sure that the color is brightness 95 instead of brightness 100. It doesn't actually freaking matter. Okay, right? What actually matters is how we can create more impact, and what we've been able to do since doing that activity is we've been able to slow down, find out what are the tasks that actually move the business forward, and then allows us to move fast. Okay, because in our business, we've never moved faster in our life, and I've never, like, realistically worked less in this period to see that much momentum, that speed come through. So if I can leave you with anything, it's that, yeah, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And when you can follow that, you run smoothly, which allows you to accelerate even faster.
Fast. Very good. Thank you for that, bro. Now broke through a fucking belief. Very good.
Yeah.
That's how it should be, right? Yeah, you learn something new every day. Now I'm just gonna keep that statement in the back of my mind all day.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. So, anyways, bro, like when you were like in your high school days, bro, like you had only this Isaac, right, as your friend. I mean, like, how did you feel during that time, bro? I mean, like.
Yes, I mean, I was never so. I'm very particular in who I surround myself with from a very early age. I can't tell you when, but even like our family is very particular on who we surround ourselves with. And throughout primary school, throughout high school, I was never like the lonely kid. I always had friends. I could go to multiple different groups if I wanted to. Like, I was always accepted everywhere, but I just didn't want to surround myself with that kind of an environment, those kinds of people, because I knew that those kinds of people weren't on the same trajectory as me. Okay. And that's like Isaac and I, we were best mates since grade 7. So as soon as like high school came around, we were best friends, and we sort of just stuck together throughout our entire journey. And throughout that, we obviously evolved as people, and we sort of not separated, but like we went our own ways during the middle of high school. And then we really came back stronger towards the end, because we realized that, holy shit, no one else has the same mindset as us. Why are we our time surrounding ourselves with people who really don't want to make a difference when we could just work together and make that difference? So for high school, for me, obviously I hated it. I just didn't agree with what was being taught, with how the impact was going to help me. I mean, I'll tell you this story is that Dad and I actually sat down together and we worked out, well, if I wanted to, in grade 10, we had this conversation where I could leave high school and I could do TAFE 11 and 12 in TAFE, and then go into the workforce, a year. I could do year 11 and 12, I think it was in 6 months. So I could have like an 18-month advantage inside of the workforce compared to everyone else. Now, left high school and I went directly down the path that I just explained, using the DynamX Institute and learning everything that we teach there, and into the business IT realm. And what I've been able to achieve from 18 years old to 20, from 18 to 19, I went from, starting salary to $100,000 a year within 13 months of graduating high school. And then at 22 years old, I became a 1% earner in Australia. So that growth, if I could have done that 18 months earlier, like how much further would I have been able to get? Because that's an extra almost 2 years of industry knowledge. I would have been in the industry for almost 7 years at that stage. Right? Then I would be 3 years away from hitting a decade. Like, how much knowledge, how much like experience would I have inside of that ecosystem, inside of that career? How much leverage would I then be able to build? How big would my network be because of everything that I've been able to create? How much resources would I have? How much money would I be able to collect? How many skills would I have? Right? Those are all the things that you need to create leverage. So we actually had that conversation in grade 12. We didn't end up going down it. I'm thankful that we did because of COVID, although looking back, without COVID, it might have been the right decision. But ultimately, it's creating leverage, and like university and high school doesn't teach that anymore. So you got to get that your own way.
Next level, bro. I'm like mind blown, bro. So, bro, why do you keep like Forge free?
So Forge is our legacy piece, man. Like, Forge for us is, if we were rich, if we had all the money in the world, what we would do is we would run Forge.
Okay? That's your brand story, is that?
That's a good question. Kind of. So I wouldn't say that would be the story, but it would definitely play a large portion of it. I wouldn't frame it that way.
Okay. Let's say, Campbell, first thing people comes to mind is Forge, something like that. That's what I wanted to do, right?
Yeah. Like, so you mean like when they think of who I am, or?
Yeah.
And I think this is a good point for everyone, is that you're more than your business. Okay. You aren't your business. You have, like, you're not connected to your business. You don't have to do anything in your business. You don't have to make payroll. You don't have to do the work. You don't have to run a business. You don't have to create the new website on the weekend. Okay. You get to do all those things because your business is not you. You as a person are more valuable as a human being than the business or the entity that you are creating. Okay. Most people, especially in their 20s, they can't differentiate that, especially if they've created success in their business, right? Most people in their 20s, obviously, they don't create success, so they don't really have this issue. But what we're finding is that the more and more people who create a larger business, who end up scaling, they're so attached to their business that they think it's them, that they have to do everything in it, that they have to keep this entity alive. Right? They have to keep pouring into it. But the reality is that you're the two different things. Okay. So when people think of me, like, yes, I want to be associated with the Forge brand because that is our legacy piece. I much prefer to be known as someone who made a monumental difference and basically created the most capable leaders in history. Okay. That's what I want to be known for. That's what Forge is doing. But like, myself and Forge are two different people. Okay. So I would make that distinction. But yeah, Forge and I and even Isaac, we're all on the same mission. We got the same vision. We want to create the most capable leaders in history, and we can do that together, but we're not one and the same, right? Isaac's his own person, Forge is his own entity, I'm my own person as well. So like, that is our legacy piece. That is what we are doing with Forge. And the reason why it's free, to go back to your original question, is, again, if we had all the money in the world, we'd be doing the exact same thing. So the reason why we started Forge was two reasons, right? We wanted to find like-minded people, and we wanted to learn from entrepreneurs and business owners who have already done it, who can teach us the path to success, right? The reason why they're free is because we can help more people because they're free, who wouldn't have, at their current capacity, who wouldn't have paid to come to the event, but this event can change their life and has changed people's lives. Okay. So there's a couple of examples that we can go through, but like the easiest example that I can share is, there's people inside of the Forge who have joined us when they had no ambition at all. They didn't really know what they wanted to do. They had no direction, right? They would not have paid $50 or a $20 ticket to come to a networking event, right? That's just not their identity at that point in time. However, because it was free, because like they came with one of their friends, they're like, look, I'm just going to check it out. It's free. There's no harm, no foul, right? They came there, they saw the environment, they started to surround themselves with the right people. They put themselves in the right environment to ultimately like make their lives better. Right. And that's what they've been able to accomplish. And now they come every single event. Now they're making a difference. Now they're starting to create leverage. They're starting to create the skills and resources that they need to ultimately live the life that they want. But then also, if they want to, create a business. They have that knowledge. Everyone tells us that we're super like genuine people. I don't really know what that means, but I think in the world nowadays, man, everyone wants something from you. They're always there to sell you something. Like, nothing's actually free. But for us, it's like, look, man, like, we just want you to make a difference. We want to support as many people as possible. If we can create you to become the most capable leader that you can. Most people in their 20s, once they get in a position to lead, they want to lead and they want to support the future generation. Okay. So if I can turn you into a leader, you're going to turn 20 other people who you want to, nothing to do with us, who you want to turn them into leaders as well. Okay. And that goes towards our mission of, again, creating the most capable leaders in history. So that's what we're on a mission to do. That's why we're here. That's what we're doing with Forge, and that's what we'll continue to do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Matt, can I ask you, this is more like a visionary, futuristic kind of a question. I know you are in the first 1% of the Australians when it comes to the income. So what success looks like to you? Have you already on the point, or are you still not there, still chasing?
This is what we've found with speaking to over 1,000 future leaders, is that free. I actually did a video of this on my YouTube channel, so you guys should check it out. So freedom for people in their 20s can be defined in just 3 words. And it's these 3 things that people are actually chasing, because what they think that they're chasing is, they think they're chasing the Lambos, the money, the private jets, the golden watches, like the diamond watches. They think that they're chasing that. But the reality is you're chasing 3 things. Okay. The 3 things are the ability to protect, provide, and lead.
Nice.
Because when you can protect and you can provide and you can lead your family, the community, and the future, that's when you have true freedom, right? It has nothing to do with how many cars you can buy. It has nothing to do with the mansion that you can or can't afford, right? Do you have the ability to protect your time, protect yourself physically, protect your family physically, protect your energy, protect your business, protect your loved ones? Do you have the ability to do that? Do you have the ability to provide not only financially, but also emotionally, the opportunities that you can give to your family and the community and the future? Okay. Can you provide them with the life that you wish you had? Right. And then ultimately, can you lead? Can you lead? Can you give back? Can you mentor? Can you support the future? Can you support your family? Can you lead the people closest to you who are ultimately going to make a difference? Okay. That's what freedom means. It's in 3 words. It's super simple. And that is like again, we explain it as an iceberg. Okay. When you're thinking of money, cars, women, private jets, that's all the top of the iceberg. What actually freedom means, what's underneath. Okay. Protect, provide, and lead your family, the community, and the future.
Great one, mate. I love it. Yes. I think that's going to be a good piece of content as well.
Send you the model that we have. We've got it broken down. We actually, shared that at the Future Leader Summit.
Really?
Awesome.
Bro, like, so what does like a $1 million skill set look like to you? Like, what are like a $1 million skill set? Like a skill that would be like worth millions for your idea.
So $1 million skill set there's no such thing as $1 million skill set. Okay. There is certain skills that you can put in place which allow you to become a millionaire. Right. What we use and what we call the dynamic skill set. Okay. So dynamic skill set to us, which I sort of touched on before, but it's your problem solving ability, it's your critical thinking ability, it's your communication, your leadership, your like all those traits that you need to succeed. Okay. And every single one of them can be broken down and can be taught, but there's like problem solving. How do you break down problem solving? Okay. Like there's a certain framework that we use that I won't share on this podcast, right? But you can actually break that down and you can teach that to others. Okay. So when you teach that, that's when you can like really understand and make a difference and build your own skill set. So what does a millionaire skill set look like? It's having the ability to have that dynamic skill set or that dynamic range of different tools, of different skills, of different abilities that you can call on in any certain situation. Okay. It's your adaptability. It's how you can adapt, how you
adaptability.
Can proceed.
And Campbell, what do you think about that's something which is co-aligned with the previous question Dil's trying to ask you? Because nowadays, everyone says AI gold rush because AI is booming and there are a lot more opportunities than previously for young entrepreneurs who wants to give it a crack because, then people who are 40 plus, they are not very capable of AI, but still who are youngsters, they are very hands-on, they are very capable, and they are already consuming it. What are the new opportunities you think? Who wants to give it a crack in AI and entrepreneurship? What are the things they can pick up?
Yeah. So I think the big word there is give it a crack. Okay. Yeah. Why are you trying to hustle harder instead of creating leverage to make sure it works? Okay. So this is what we're constantly seeing, and AI is a perpetrator to this, is people are just trying to give it a crack. They're trying to give it a go. They're trying to make something work. They're trying to chase N8N's out. I'm going to follow that. ChatGPT agents are out. I'm going to try and do that. There's this new AI social media profile that I'm going to use. I'm going to follow that. And they try and just chase any opportunity and try and make any single opportunity work. Okay. But when you do that, you're just simply trying to hustle harder. You're trying and trying and trying. You're forcing. Okay. So instead of trying to force, you need to leverage, which allows any single opportunity you pursue to succeed. Right. So rather than trying to find the 1 out of 100 that's going to work for you, why don't you just become the person, create the skills and create the resources so that you can have the leverage that you're after, where any single opportunity you decide to follow will work. Right? This is the exact example why people who have already created the success that you're aspiring to can go ahead and create a brand new business and make it worth $1 million in 12 months. Right? I'll give you an example. So Toa Global, the company that I referenced earlier, doing 130 million rev. They're on the Gold Coast, massive firm. They're an accounting firm. Nick Sinclair, the founder, wanted to start up media department. And anyway, he started up that brand new business, no experience, no nothing. Within 12 months, it was doing 600K in revenue. Okay. Why was he able to do that? Because he had the skills and he had the resources to make that opportunity work. Right. I'm sure that opportunity would have worked for someone in their 20s. They just hustled harder enough and maybe they would have been able to make it work after 10 years of trying, trial and error. Right.
Yeah.
Or you could get into the position where you can be like someone like Nick Sinclair. Okay. Because someone like Nick Sinclair, he started working for others. Right. He went into, I think, was selling in life insurance. I think he was working for someone else, got the experience on how to sell, on understand how a business works, and then ultimately went down the accounting route. Okay. Then he got experience in that because he saw how a business is supposed to work, saw how he's supposed to sell. He leveraged all of the transferable skills that he got from over here into his own business to build Toa Global, and then ultimately used these skills and resources from Toa to create his other business, right, which did 600K in the first 12 months, right? So rather than trying to give it a crack and try and make AI work, what I would recommend and what I say and what I did, okay, was create a specialized skill, create specialized knowledge so that you can have the leverage that you're after, and then ultimately make any single opportunity work that you decide. Right?
One of the keywords you were always talking about is the leverage, the word leverage. If I ask you because I know it's a very technical word, but if someone is wondering what leverage means, can you describe it in your own terms, please?
Yeah. So leverage means you get more out than you put in. Okay. So if I put in, let's just use money because it's an easy example, right? And then we'll extrapolate from there. If I put $10,000 in, leverage means I'm going to get $100,000 back, right? That can look like, as an example, investing into mentors or investing into program or knowledge or training, right? And when you invest that, then you're going to get money back out. Okay. That's what leverage looks like. In terms of skills, leverage means that when I do certain tasks in my business, I'm going to get more back because I'm better, I'm faster, I'm more proficient at it. So the easiest example is leadership, right? When you have a leadership skill and you're in a position where you can lead like 10 other people, right? I could work as hard as I possibly wanted to, okay, and still not get done as much as 10 people would, right? That is leverage. When you have that leadership ability to lead 10 other people, that's what leverage looks like in your skill set, right? Because those 10 people can get more done, like triple or 5 times the amount of work you could get done than yourself, right? So like you need to create that leverage, which for us is gaining specialized knowledge, gaining the skills that are actually used in business that you can then, right, apply to your own business eventually or just use in the real world, right?
Bro, so where do you all see yourself like in like 5 years time, bro? Where do you guys see yourself, Forge and all this?
Yeah. So we'll be running the DynamX Institute, which is a massive training protocol teaching people the pathway that like Isaac and myself have both followed, which is going down the Microsoft route, getting certified in Microsoft, understanding the entire Microsoft ecosystem, so you can create the skills, get into a specialized, get into a high leverage career, which basically means a career that like isn't like what you see in movies or isn't like the worst nightmare. It's not like 9 to 5 grind, right? This is where you can solve real business problems, make a real impact, and you get to solve problems every single day, right? So this is you get that feeling of like you get a problem and you're like, holy shit, I don't know if this is even possible. It looks impossible. Like, where do I even start? I don't even want to touch it. It's too hard, right? And then it's like, no, you have to do it. I'm like, okay, well, shit, I have to do it. So you start studying, and then you go down, and you're like, okay, look, I'm just going to make it like, what can we pull together? How can I make this work? What are the possibilities? How can I do this? And you wrap your brain to the point where like, holy shit, I'm going to pull this piece from here, that piece from there. I'm going to like combine it together to create the solution. I'm like, holy shit, I've done it, right? Like, this is what it means. Like, I've solved the problem. I'm a freaking genius. Okay. Like, that's the sort of like problem solving that we get to do every single day in our career. And it's about getting people inside of that so they can, over the next 5 years, ultimately run their own business, right? They can create the leverage to become a business owner rather than just entrepreneur, right? The easiest statistic I can give you is that 50% of high schoolers think they're going to be a millionaire by 25, right? 50%. The fastest way to get there is through a high leverage career, okay? Because the worst case scenario is you're making $250,000 a year, and whilst everyone else is still hustling in their entrepreneurship and working at a bakery, right? Working at McDonald's, okay? So your worst case is what most people are aspiring to achieve, right? And then you actually have the skills and you have the resources and you have the network to ultimately create the fucking leverage that you need to become a business owner anyway, right? That's what we'll be doing in the next 5 years is expanding that entire operation, training people, getting them into that, expanding what the dynamic skill set actually means, and ultimately training and giving more people access to the dynamic skill set so they can live the life that they're after and create that leverage to then ultimately do whatever they want to do. Right? That's like give them the ability to protect, provide, and lead is more accurately what we're focusing on.
If anyone wants to join for the Future Leaders Summit, how they can get to know about it and where to find more information, Campbell?
Yeah. So Forge or the Future Leaders Summit, you can just go forge.futureleaders on Instagram. It's FXRGE for Forge, so X instead of an O. If you just search up FXR, it should come up. It's the blue one. So that's how you can join the Future Leaders Summit. Give us a follow. I'll personally DM you, or you can go on the website and register straight away. We've got I don't know when this might not be released, but so that's how you can find us for Forge. If you want to learn more about the DynamX Institute and how you can create a high leverage career, then you can just message me personally on campbell.crg on Instagram and get in touch, and we can have a chat and see if it's going to be right for you.
Bro, do you want to do the rapid fire questions things for Campbell?
So, one word that defines resilience for you.
Oh, I like that because the name. Being comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Nice. One morning habit that anchors you.
Gym. I like saunas as well. Red light saunas.
Yes, nice. Well done.
Sauna or the gym? What do you reckon?
Well, definitely gym. Like gym's the main one. But you can't go to the sauna without a gym. You know what I mean? You got to go gym first and then sauna.
Yeah.
So I'll take it as a gym.
Yeah.
So, biggest misconception about meditation?
So I don't meditate, but my parents do. I mean, it's really, really helped them. Actually, Mum's been away. She's been at who's the guy that meditates? The big guy.
There's so many dudes.
Does all the retreats. Come on, it's
yoga.
No, it's some like massive guy. I forget his name. I should remember.
Sadhguru?
Nah, some massive. Anyway, he's like super famous. His retreats get sold out in like 4 months
man.
or some shit.
If it is a full focus kind of a work, that's also a kind of a meditation.
Yeah. So I mean, I think meditation. The biggest misconception with meditation is that people don't think that it actually works, but you're probably not doing it correctly. So following meditation has ultimately allowed our family to heal and to go through like really hard times and actually like connect more with the spiritual, whether or not that's God or that spirit's for you. Like it's all one and the same, the higher power being, and I think that you can connect into that when you do meditation. So I think that's the biggest misconception with meditation is that it doesn't actually work when actually.
Bro, leave the final question to me, all right? Leave the final question to me.
Okay. A book or teacher that changed your perspective? You already answered that question, but
yeah, I'm trying to think of a teacher. I don't know if there's I mean, Dad definitely.
Bro, like really?
Dad, but then Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich is the best book that I can give anyone. It'll change your life.
Napoleon Hill.
All right. The difference between the Goner crew and the action crew. What's the difference, Maji?
I mean, I think it speaks for itself, to be fair. If you're on the Goner crew, you're someone who says, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. and they never actually ends up doing anything, and nothing changes, okay? Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. And when you say you're going to do something, it doesn't actually mean anything. When you start actioning, because again, action is the baseline of success, that's when shit can actually start changing. That's when you can see real momentum, real changes in your life. And once you do that, that will allow you to create the dream life that you're after, right? Which is the ability to protect, provide, and lead your family, the community, and the future.
So finally, bro, if someone listening like in this podcast, if they are meant to be in your room, what should be their first move after this episode?
Ultimately, just reach out to us on Instagram. I would say campbell.cig is my personal one, so you can reach out there. LinkedIn, I'm also big on, so if you want to reach out to me,
Really, bro? Yeah, gotta connect on there.
yeah.
Anyways, bro, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast today, bro. Really appreciate you for your time. Yeah, that was next level, bro. Believe me, that's like.